Greetings YouTube dwellers. I've been busy lately after my latest video, and now I'm in a position in which I can get what I need done, so that I can focus on my next latest breakdown. But until then, this video will be resuming what I've planned in the pipeline before off shooting. The last time I discussed anything DC Comics related was explaining why Zack Snyder is a terrible director, why 2013's Man of Steel sucks, and the rest is history. Thankfully before 2024 began, the DCEU has officially ended, and that zombie nightmare of a franchise won't be missed. So this time, I will be shifting gears from why to how. I will be explaining in this video how the scrapped project known as Batman vs Godzilla would have changed the Godzilla franchise as we know it from 1966 onward had it been made. To get a full background, a close examination is in order. The year is 1965, and Godzilla had already gone toe-to-toe with Anguirus, Kong, Mothra, Rodan, and most recently Ghidorah. King Kong vs Godzilla was a huge financial success, selling over 11 million tickets. Mothra vs Godzilla and Ghidorah the three-headed monster were both financial successes, while not selling as much tickets, but they were great pieces of storytelling nonetheless. Invasion of the Astro Monster was on its way out the door, and at that point in time, Ishiro Honda's writing chum, Shinichi Sekizawa, had an idea for another crossover that would guarantee Toho millions of ticket sales. However, Honda had his own plans and split off momentarily to focus on his sequel to Frankenstein, which resulted in War of the Gargantuas the following year. The crossover Sekizawa had in mind would have had Batman and Robin travel to Japan and battle Godzilla. The Batman franchise at the time just started with its Adam West era on ABC, and the first Adam West Batman movie released in July of 1966. Sekizawa approached the show and film's creator William Dozier with his pitch on the promise that it would a success like King Kong vs Godzilla was. While Dozier declined making Sekizawa's film, in mind a sequel to the Batman film already made, an American and a Japanese treatment of Sekizawa's script were drafted, but in the end, the film did not get off the ground. The American treatment of the film is vaulted somewhere in the University of Wyoming, but the Japanese treatment is nowhere to be found and considered lost media. So the story never got far enough to be a fully fledged realized script, so this synopsis will be based entirely on the American treatment, as well as locked down as a direct sequel to Invasion of the Astro Monster. So after Godzilla and Rodan toppled themselves with Ghidorah into the ocean, they were never seen since. Sometime later, Commissioner Gordon and his daughter Barbara are on cruise ship heading to Japan to meet up with a college friend of Barbara's named Reikeo Hamamoto. Unfortunately for them, an unexpected rogue wave cuts the trip short and flips over the vessel. But Barbara and her father survive the shipwreck. This tidal wave was not nature's doing, but instead was caused by a man named Klaus Finster, an artsy meteorologist who escaped Germany just before the Soviets took over. In his secret lab under Mount Fuji, Klaus makes a public declaration that he has control of the entire weather and will destroy Japan unless he is given $20 million in gold. Klaus can be summarized as a rogue Nazi who wants to make up for his loss in Nazi gold, which was actual wealth looted from Holocaust victims. Gordon decides that there is only one way to stop Klaus from destroying Japan, calling Batman and Robin. Batman and Robin arrive in Japan and investigate where to find Klaus before he hits Japan with storms and earthquakes. The stakes flop back and forth over the course of this part of the narrative. Whenever Batman and Robin make a move, Finster is one step ahead. When Finster makes a move, Batman and Robin find a way out. For example, Batman and Robin join Batgirl and her college friend Reikeo in watching a kabuki show. But during the performance, the actors attack Batman and Robin. Reikeo gets decapitated, but it's revealed that she's a robot spy for Finster and the real Reikeo is locked in Finster's lair under Mount Fuji. Later on, the duo track down Finster and get in a taxi cab, but it's a trap. It fills up with cyclone gas, but Batman and Robin escape thanks to Barbara Gordon donning her Batgirl costume. Finster makes another public declaration that he'll rain down a firestorm on the city, and after some evacuation, Godzilla shows up and sets the land on fire. But Batman gets everyone to the Batchopper. Batman suspects that Godzilla is being told to attack, recalling the line from the American cut of King Kong vs. Godzilla that he has a brain the size of a pea. After watching a stock footage montage of Godzilla fighting the military and King Kong, Batman has a full background of what he's working with. Finster then makes another declaration that the weather device is a lie and the real device is one that lets him control Godzilla. So the rogue wave at the beginning was Godzilla's doing. The stakes crank up when Batman, Robin and Batgirl get on a train to get to Finster and they have to fight a brigade of sumo wrestlers. When Finster learns that Batman and Robin are coming to stop him, he flicks a switch that allows Godzilla to start rampaging Japan. The train then gets picked up by Godzilla. Batgirl falls off, but Godzilla catches her in his palm and gets infatuated with her like King Kong usually does with women. An idea that Ebirah Horror of the Deep would pick up on eventually. Finster tells Godzilla to crush her, but he says nah. Godzilla then goes off to destroy Osaka and military forces. Finster then makes another announcement that Tokyo will be the next target for Godzilla's rampage. Because of Godzilla's infatuation with Batgirl, Batman believes that Godzilla is looking for someone to connect to, so he and Robin go to a laboratory and concoct a device that will imitate a mating call. Tokyo has been evacuated, Finster's goons are looting, so Batman and Robin kick their asses, but Finster slips and falls off a building and dies, destroying the device controlling Godzilla. Out of his trance, Godzilla is now free to roam as he chooses, starting by attacking Tokyo and wiping out the remaining defense forces to which the script calls. Ahem. An unparalleled orgy of destruction.
Disgusting!
Batman, Robin and Batgirl drive away in the Batmobile, but Godzilla picks it up and takes Batgirl out and throws the vehicle away with Batman and Robin inside. Batman then runs back to the lab to get the Godzilla calling device, which would make you think why didn't he bring it with him in the first place, but it's in service of him getting to see a new Batmobile. Godzilla rampages through the city of Kamakura just south of Tokyo. Batman arrives and activates the calling device. Godzilla then looks puzzled on where the noise is coming from. He puts Batgirl aside and finds the machine that was giving the call simply placed on the ground. Batman latches onto Godzilla's tail while he was distracted, but he holds on for dear life once Godzilla realizes he's been bamboozled. Batman climbs onto Godzilla's nape and sets an explosive charge. It explodes, and Godzilla goes down like the Titans in Attack on Titan. Batman then asks the people of Japan what they should do with Godzilla, and they decide to send him up into space, forever getting rid of him. So like in Gamera's first movie, Godzilla is placed in a ridiculously tall rocket and is blasted off into outer space. The story ends with Batman and Robin in their civilian outfits, being guests of honor at a baseball game. This story overall is pretty cool, it's really innovative. This story is also poorly written, like we don't know what becomes of Rei Ko Hamamoto if she ever gets out of her prison under Mount Fuji, but then again it's only a rough incomplete draft. Now that we know background of this story and how it would have played out, the next step is conjecturing the cultural impact it would have had. The first and foremost impact would have been that it would have made Godzilla a more international brand. King Kong vs. Godzilla was the first time the Godzilla IP collaborated with a Western property, even if Kong was easternized to look more like a Japanese macaque or a snow monkey, but after that, Toho didn't reach out for other Western properties to collaborate with. Nowadays, Godzilla has been internationalized, and that seems to be Toho's current interest with the IP these days. That's what the world of Godzilla marketing strategy is. And it's rather ironic that the Toho purists were the ones advocating that only true and authentic Godzilla comes from Japan, when Toho themselves are aiming to move away from such an isolationist mindset. A Japanese historical comparison would be the Sakoku foreign policy, which lasted between the 17th and 19th centuries, and once it was lifted, Japan went from a medieval country to a more modernized country. So things like the movies, comics, video games and whatnot have been published on a global marketing, and have gotten more attention than they've ever had. And so far, the US has been the only other country to have its hand in the IP. It would be interesting to see what other countries like China and India can do with the IP. Therefore, had BVG happened, it would have accelerated Godzilla becoming more international and having global appeal much sooner than it has today. Another impact would have been that it would have established a rivalry between Godzilla and Batman from a meta perspective. On the Japanese side, you have three of the so-called Big Five, being Mothra, King Ghidorah, and Mechagodzilla, appear in just about every era, written to be Godzilla's adversary. And on the American side, you only have Khan, whose rivalry with Godzilla started from 1962 onward. The rivalry with Zilla doesn't count, because the only film those two met in was a Japanese film in 2004. Now, the appeal of a hypothetical rivalry between Batman and Godzilla would be akin to David vs. Goliath. An underdog versus a larger-than-life opponent. In this case, this would be about a billionaire playboy dressing up as a bat who fights crime and solves cases, taking on both a victim and perpetrator of nuclear holocaust and a force of nature to boot. We probably would have seen a Heisei, TriStar, and a legendary iteration of this rivalry had BVG happened. Though the legendary iteration might have been interfered by the DCEU, or it would have prevented the DCEU from happening in the first place. Similarly to the last impact we've gone over, this done extends to the whole genre of superheroes crossing over with the whole genre of kaiju eiga. If you will go on to Toho Kingdom, you'll see that Godzilla made his first appearance in Western comics as early as 1977. So one would think, if Batman vs. Godzilla had been made back in the 60s, we would have seen crossovers with superheroes and kaiju more frequently from the 60s onward than we are seeing them pop up now. So what would have been the appeal of seeing such crossovers? Well, superheroes have been described as modern mythology. They are not exactly gods, though they do exhibit supernatural abilities that some gods in myth are described to have, like super strength, speed, stamina, and so on. In the case of Marvel and DC Comics, Doug Walker summarized in his Wonder Woman review that, if Marvel is humans becoming gods, DC is gods becoming human. So if they were to cross over with kaiju, it would highlight an aspect seen in plenty of Indo-European mythologies, that being gods fighting giants. Famously, Greek mythology had the gods of Olympus fight the Titans, and the Gigantis. Norse myth had the Aesir locked into battle with the Jotnar, and the Vanir would join in. Hinduism has their gods the Devas go up against giants either called the Daityas or the Osiris. Egyptian mythology seems to only have Ra and Apep battle day and night, symbolizing sunrise and sunset. And Japanese mythology has Susanoo outwit the eight-headed dragon Orochi by drinking sake. And to extend this to what can be considered modern myths, say Attack on Titan for example, we can sort of stretch Levi Ackerman going god mode against Zeke Yeager's beast Titan form. So overall, all these stories of gods fighting giants can be seen as civilized forces trying to conquer or keep at bay the forces of nature that mankind cannot control. Basically order versus chaos. Or as some Norse enthusiasts call it, Enengard versus Utengard, but Norse specialist Dr. Jackson Crawford would disagree with that concept, since it doesn't originate in Norse texts. Anyways, I conclude this video. Before I finish, these are my references where I conducted my research on this topic. Until next time, good night.